All right, let's jump right in. We all know this feeling, right? You click a link and bam, access denied, or that incredibly frustrating 404 error. We usually see these and just roll our eyes. It's a broken link, a server glitch, a total dead end. But in the context of our digital world right now, these messages are actually the visible front line of a massive invisible war. They're the barricades. They are the digital doors slamming shut to protect whatever is hiding on the other side. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to break down the 2026 cybersecurity ecosystem. We're going to funnel all the way down from the absolute highest echelons of global economic anxiety, right down to the specific software protecting your everyday files. Because this isn't just about hackers and basements anymore. This is about global infrastructure, artificial intelligence, and the fundamental architecture of how we actually connect to the internet. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. We'll hit the 2026 cyber risk landscape, define the zero trust paradigm, dig into AI native threat defense, check out global standards, and finally, look at frontline tools and tactics. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 2026 cyber risk landscape. Here is the macro perspective straight from the World Economic Forum. According to the WEF's Global Cybersecurity Outlook for 2026, there are three massive macro forces completely reshaping global risk right now. First up, accelerating AI adoption. Now, AI is an unbelievable tool for businesses, obviously, but it's equally powerful for threat actors. It's allowing them to scale attacks and hunt for vulnerabilities at speeds we've literally never seen before. Second is geopolitical fragmentation. The internet used to feel borderless, but we're increasingly seeing digital borders being drawn, and that makes sharing threat intelligence and fighting international cybercrimes so much more complicated. And third, widening cyber inequity. Basically, the gap between massive corporations with state-of-the-art defenses and smaller organizations who just can't afford them is growing fast, and it's creating incredibly vulnerable weak links in our global supply chains. The WEF actually sums this up perfectly, noting that organizations and governments are facing this intense, rising pressure to adapt amid persistent sovereignty challenges and widening capability gaps. Essentially, as attacks get faster and more complex, relying on yesterday's defenses is just, well, it's a guaranteed path to a breach. The pressure is on, and that capability gap, that inequity we just talked about, is exactly what the bad actors are actively exploiting. And just to wrap our heads around the sheer economic scale at stake here, the WEF points out that the green economy alone accounts for roughly $8 trillion in listed equity market value. $8 trillion. That is precisely the kind of massive capital bad actors are salivating over. When we talk about cyber risk today, we aren't just talking about a little data privacy issue. We are talking about the core financial stability of huge global industrial transitions. Moving right along to Section 2, defining the zero trust paradigm and how we are fundamentally shifting network architecture. So let's define what zero trust actually means in practice. Cloudflare breaks it down really simply. It's enforcing a strict default deny rule for anyone trying to access a network. Think about the old days. If you were inside the office building or if you had the right Wi-Fi password, the network just trusted you. You could wander around the digital halls totally freely. Zero trust means exactly what it sounds like. Trust absolutely no one and verify every single time you try to access an app. It takes networking and security and completely converges them into a single cloud-native architecture. It's a massive industry pivot. Think about the outdated reliance on legacy networking. We're talking risky VPNs, MPLS routing, treating the local area network like a safe haven. It's that classic castle and moat approach, right? Once an attacker sneaks past the moat using a compromised VPN, they essentially have the keys to the entire castle. Now, compare that to modern architecture. We're talking zero trust network access, secure web gateways, cloud-native connectivity. It's totally dynamic, and it treats every single access request as potentially hostile until proven otherwise. It's a total game changer. To really put the absolute necessity of this modern architecture into perspective, get a load of this number. Cloudflare reports that their integrated services block roughly 234 billion threats every single day. Just let that sink in for a second. 234 billion daily threats. You literally cannot manage that kind of volume with manual security teams or legacy hardware firewalls. You absolutely need a modern automated architecture that intercepts the stuff long before it gets anywhere near your employees' inboxes. Which brings us to Section 3, AI native threat defense, where the endpoint is officially the new control point. Let's zoom in a bit more. We've looked at the global view, we've looked at the network architecture, now let's go right down to the enterprise endpoint.
CrowdStrike, who's obviously a massive player in endpoint security, has laid out 5 specific steps for enterprise readiness in what they call frontier AI security. And they acknowledge a pretty terrifying reality. The time gap between a software patch dropping and a hacker weaponizing an exploit for it is collapsing fast. What used to take weeks or months to reverse engineer now takes days or even hours, thanks to AI. So our defense mechanisms have to operate at AI speed too, just to identify the risk and shut down the adversary before they can pull the trigger.
And it's fascinating to see how these massive global anxieties boil down to specific, tangible monthly business costs. Look at CrowdStrike's pricing tiers per endpoint. You've got the Go tier at $7.99 a month, bringing next-gen antivirus, Pro at $14.99, adding firewall management, and Enterprise at $19.99 for continuous endpoint detection and response. This brilliantly illustrates how advanced AI-native security is basically being commoditized right now. It's a direct, scalable answer to that WEF cyber inequity warning, giving you enterprise-grade protection down to the individual laptop for less than the cost of a Netflix subscription. All right, Section 4, Frameworks and Global Standards. Because someone has to actually guide all this wild innovation. And the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, is absolutely central here. What's wild is that NIST isn't some flash-in-the-pan tech startup. They've actually been driving innovation for 125 years. From developing atomic clocks to creating the exact encryption standards that are keeping our national security intact right now, they are literally the bedrock of modern digital trust. Right now, NIST's mandate is hyper-focused on some bleeding-edge areas: artificial intelligence, cybersecurity and privacy, and advanced communications. They aren't the ones building the commercial software. Instead, they're providing the essential blueprints, measurements, and resources needed to make sure U.S. infrastructure stays completely secure. They create the universal standards that actually allow a zero-trust network from vendor A to safely and seamlessly talk to an endpoint device from vendor B. Finally, let's hit Section 5, Frontline Tools and Tactics, analyzing threats all the way down at the file level. This is where a tool like VirusTotal is just invaluable. It scans an unbelievably wide range of file types: executables, docs, internet files, images, audio, video, compressed files, the whole shebang. You upload one suspicious file, and it instantly analyzes it against dozens of different antivirus engines. But honestly, the real magic here isn't just the scan itself, it's the network effect. When malware is spotted, that intel is instantly shared with the broader security community. It's crowdsourced threat intelligence. So a brand new zero-day threat caught by a small startup today automatically updates the defenses of a massive global enterprise tomorrow. That is huge.
So we've gone from multi-trillion-dollar economic risks through the massive pivot to zero-trust networks, all the way down to AI endpoints and individual file scanning. And it leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Look at your own digital footprint right now. Look at how your data is protected. As attacks get faster, more automated, and infinitely more complex, is your organization truly ready for the AI speed frontier? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Hopefully, mapping out this 2026 cybersecurity landscape gives you a much clearer sense of the challenges and the solutions heading our way.